Welcome food fans, picky eaters, the flavor curious, and everyone in between. Nothing makes good food better than good conversation. And your table is ready. Come right this way to the Food For ThoughtCast with your host, Melissa Reagan. But you can call her Chef. All right, let's get this episode started.
As a chef and a person who loves all kinds of food, I'm always looking for ways that I can emphasize quality over quantity without feeling like I'm missing out or depriving myself of the things that I love. And I love pasta. Carbonara, mac and cheese, primavera, cacio e pepe, you name it and I'm all about it. That's why I choose Bonza. Bonza is the pasta made from chickpeas, which means it has more protein, more fiber, and I believe more flavor than regular old pasta. Seriously, if you go in my pantry right now, there are 2 boxes in there awaiting their next culinary adventure. Bonza has over 12 different kinds of pasta, including penne, rotini, elbows, and cavatappi, which is my favorite, because all of those curves and ridges hold even more delicious sauce. Bonza also makes pizza crust, which tastes too good to believe that it comes from peas. You can find Bonza at Whole Foods, Target, and Walmart. Hey there, food fans. Welcome back to the Food For ThoughtCast with me, your host, Melissa Reagan, and my co-host with the most, Chef Steven Gonzalez. What's up, Steve?
Hello. How is it going?
Pretty good, pretty good. Nasty, rainy day here. What are you up to?
We're just cooking some beef ribs and having some fun.
Yes.
Question. Am I getting a lot of feedback? I feel like the acoustics in this room are not the best.
Sounds great.
Fair enough.
All good, all good. So I have to ask, what was the most amazing thing you ate this week?
We made menudo yesterday, so that's going to be the most amazing thing I had all week because menudo is my favorite, especially around this time of year.
Is it because it's this time of year or because of the weather or both?
Both. But in all fairness, menudo is good year-round, so there's also that.
Nice, nice. I, too, have been in the mood for soup. This week I made chorizo potato leek soup. I saw something similar on TikTok, but I kind of made it my own because I didn't have the same ingredients. But it could not have been more simple. It was literally 4 ingredients and just let it go until the potatoes were soft, and it is delicious. So
sounds pretty good. So did you make enough to share or
Yeah, I have a Tupperware in the freezer. I'm gonna pop that right in FedEx. Maybe it'll get there the day after Christmas.
Right. Oh, there we go. Something to look forward to.
So, okay, tell us about the menudo. I saw some beef tendons in your Facebook stories the other day. Was that for the menudo or for something else?
Yeah, it's typically not used when you make menudo, but I just love beef tendons for some reason. So I just always throw it in there. It's going to cook down. It's going to make everything nice and gelatinous, silky, if you will, whenever you get to eat your menudo. But I don't know. And plus, all that stuff's good for you. So there's also that.
I mean, I kind of do the same thing if I'm making bone broth. I always have chicken feet in the house that I typically will give to my dogs as a treat, frozen. But I'll throw a couple in a pot of any flavored broth or stock because it gives that like unctuous, gelatiny.
Yeah.
It just gives a little body that like the regular bones don't have that.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
it's delicious. And what do you put with your menudo? Some people I know, like they have to have an ice cold Coke or a beer, right? Or tortillas or what's the garnish at the Gonzalez home?
I always do onions, cilantro to go with everything. And I typically go with like corn tortillas, but moving to West Texas, you get like a different variation. So people like their bolillos with their menudo, which is that like Mexican bread. Oh yeah, good stuff. but I don't really drink a soda or drink beer with that. I don't know. I'm weird like that. I just want to like have that right in front of me, just not stop until I'm done, you know?
Yeah, no, I got you. So for those of you who don't know, bolillo bread is used for tortas, like Mexican style sandwiches. Sometimes it's diamond shape, really, really soft on the inside, really, really tasty. So you can think of it the same way as you would like the big soft, like a Philly cheesesteak roll. I think it's comparable to that, but I actually like them better. And then one of my favorite is the sandwich where they dip that bolillo bread in the sauce first, bombazos, where they dip it like in the enchilada style sauce.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it's so good.
I'm a fan of all that stuff. I don't care what anyone says. It's good.
I like it too. You're going to have to win me over. Like, I really, really like pozole, but at some point, the next time we get together, you're going to have to win me over with the all the parts that go in a menudo. Like, maybe there's a way that you prepare it that I will like.
If you're not a fan of like that flavor that comes with like the honeycomb tripe and all that, I always recommend like after an hour or two, just like straining all the water off and then starting from scratch all over again, so you get a little bit of a cleaner flavor. And then to help with all that, I throw a ton of garlic, a lot of salt in there, oregano, so that helps out as well.
But I suppose if I was hungover enough, I probably wouldn't mind any of the flavors.
True. But menudo is more than just hangover food. It soothes the soul.
Got it. I like it. I like it. Well, New Year's Eve and New Year's Day are upon us. So tonight we are going to talk about New Year's Day food traditions. Now, why I say day instead of Eve is because I really couldn't find a lot of information on traditional New Year's Eve foods. There are a couple of things from around the world, like eating grapes on New Year's Eve, for good luck, or toasting with champagne, or kissing the one you love at midnight, right? But I couldn't find like a ton of specific foods. It kind of seems like it's all over the map. Really depends on where you grew up. However, New Year's Day tends to be about foods that bring good luck. I don't believe in luck, but we're going to talk about it anyway.
What's the one ingredient that just pops into your head as soon as you hear New Year's?
Black-eyed peas.
Yep, that's where we're going with this. Okay.
I think so. What about you? Is it also black-eyed peas for you?
Yeah, I was going to try to come up with something outlandish and say like horseradish, but no, black-eyed peas.
You know what? I wouldn't hate horseradish. I wouldn't hate horseradish and the black-eyed peas. So on the last episode, right, we talked about tamales, and you were like, do you put ketchup on yours? I'm kind of the weirdo that will strain the black-eyed peas out of the juice, put it over a piece of cornbread, and then put ketchup on that.
You know what I would do? What I like to do is I will blend it all up and then refry them. For some reason, refried black-eyed peas, it's 10 times better, especially when you're using bacon grease.
Like, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. I was just going to ask if you put lard or bacon grease in there.
That's what it sounds like when you're just spreading it, you know? Oh, it's good.
That sounds amazing.
And then what you do is, because everyone also likes lobster, which we'll talk about later, you make like black-eyed pea lobster tacos. Heck yeah, buddy.
Oh, that sounds really, really good. Do you ever do collard greens on New Year's Day? Those are big in the South. I
do from time to time. It also depends on, if I go somewhere or if someone brings it. Yeah, I'd be all about it for sure. That's another one of those where you can eat it year round too. It's good. Right.
Now, for your cornbread, do you do cornbread with your black-eyed peas?
No, I can't say I typically do. I don't really think about that.
Nope.
Like I said, I'm too busy making tacos out of
it, I mean, you can put a cornbread in a taco. Like, who cares? It's your taco.
Cornbread tacos.
Cornbread tacos.
Cornbread tacos. Hashtag please don't cancel us.
Ooh, hashtag we're just here for the food. Please don't cancel us. So black-eyed peas are believed to have been a sign of good luck. There's a couple of different stories, right? Black-eyed peas are technically beans, and so they made their way to North America via the slave trade in the 1700s. According to the book Soul Food, The Surprising Story of an American Cuisine, One Plate at a Time by Adrian Miller, the crop became so popular in the southern United States, particularly among indigenous peoples, that many people believed they were native to the Americas. So they kind of became so common that people thought they might have started here, which happens with a lot of things.
Yeah, most definitely. It all ends up with different interpretations. Did you know, though, that the legend has it that you have to eat exactly 365 black-eyed peas to get lucky for the new year?
Challenge accepted.
Well, I think that's why so many of us don't have good luck, because we have 366 or 364. We don't have exactly 365.
Man.
So that's why I always have bad luck,
What are you going to do?
Count every one of them out.
The stakes are high. Well, when I was growing up, it was explained to me that you had to at least eat the amount of black-eyed peas for your age. So if you were 13, you needed to eat 13 of them. That was difficult for somebody. Right?
It's just to get you to eat less black-eyed peas, because think about it. How many kids actually like black-eyed peas?
Man, I did.
I didn't mind them.
That was one thing I did not have to grow into. Now, it was difficult for somebody like my brother, for instance. He doesn't like a lot of textures, and he definitely doesn't eat vegetables or peas. And so, yeah. So in the South, so you talked about a new way that I had never.
You've never done it that way?
I've never refried black-eyed peas, believe it or not. But in the South, Hoppin' John is a mixture of black-eyed peas and rice and some sort of pork. It's like usually salt pork or bacon. Have you had them that way?
I can't say I have. No.
Yeah. I mean, it's not really too far off from if you think of the slave trade as it went through the Caribbean and then over into the Carolinas. They had a dish called Reese PC that came over with them, and they were red, like a red pea, or it's a little bit different. Like it's kind of like a red bean that you would see in red beans and rice, but it was a pea that was really similar to black-eyed peas, and they would mix it with rice. Kind of like in Cuba, you know how they'll do like the black beans and rice together, or in Haiti or somewhere like that. But anyhow, how do you feel about Texas caviar, like the cold version?
I like it. Right? I don't mind it at all.
Yeah, I like it too. I like to eat it with tortilla chips. I mean, I think it's more in the summertime, but when I think about black-eyed peas, I can't help but think of that.
Yeah. I always like a good salty chip to go with that, So if it's the tortilla chips, they got to be super salty.
Yeah, really, really salty. It's one of those things, right? Beans absorb water, and then they give off water after they're done cooking. So it's like you need really, really big flavors. I always kind of just press the easy button there. I will buy like pre-made pico de gallo and put it with black-eyed peas and call it a day. Some people put celery in there. I don't like that. Some people put green bell peppers in there. Nah.
Take it or leave it. So do you know why greens are consumed around New Year's?
I don't.
So it's thought of that the collard greens, or any kind of greens really, it's the color of paper money. So it's supposed to symbolize like prosperity in the next year,
Got it. I mean, that kind of makes sense. So like green for money. I think that's also the reason why people eat cabbage. So back in the 30s and 40s, you would have heard money referred to as lettuce or cabbage or green or whatever. So yeah, also a symbol of prosperity and money. Did you know they say the same thing about pork? So like pork loin or ham. It's supposed to, it's supposed to, it's supposed to symbolize good luck because according to some theories, pigs bury their snout into the ground and then move forward, which is the same direction you want to head in the new year. I think that one's kind of silly, but a lot of people eat ham with their black-eyed peas. I think it's more because it tastes good.
Yeah.
So
I can't say I feel bad for anyone who doesn't eat pork, but I get it,
I get it.
But pork's just delicious. I like it.
It is delicious. I find that I go through phases where I try to limit red meat, eat chicken, less pork. It's really not for any other reason except for, it's just seasons of life, right? So now, if you were to have cornbread, would you like it sweet or not?
I prefer more of a savory.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to do that, I mean, the sweet cornbread's good, but I like that savory, and then maybe just like a hint of honey or something, like a hint of sweetness. But that's just me.
I like my cornbread to be like a dessert. But yeah, I think I have a sugar problem.
I mean, if it's a dessert, then I'm all about it.
No, but it's not a dessert.
Well, I mean, it can
Nutty,
be.
but that's the. I mean, you could go like a corn pudding direction. Ooh, I like to make like a sweet corn flan. That's really
Okay,
really good.
that sounds good.
Um, did you know that lentils are also eaten on New Year's Day and Eve in a lot of
No,
Italian households because they look like coins, so it's supposed to be considered good luck.
I could see that. Yeah,
So I could get down with that. I love lentils.
I'm a
So
big. I could eat lentils too. I do enjoy them. I'm always one of those where I'm always afraid of overcooking them, but
mhm.
I still eat them anyways. Yeah.
Yeah. What else? What else are you eating on New Year's Day, or what did you grow
Uh,
up eating on New Year's Day?
that's a good question. I don't even remember. Like I know there was tamales, menudo, but mostly because it was just cold outside, and it's a good
Mhm.
for us. It was seasonal, and we had my grandma would make tons of tamales with all my aunts, and so that's what we had like all throughout Christmas break, going into
Nice.
the new
Nice,
year.
nice.
Yeah, and I
I
think
mean,
my
go
mom would
ahead.
also make the sopapillas and all that kind of fun stuff, but just because it was fun to make.
Yeah. Oh man, I made sopapillas from scratch one time for a school assignment for Spanish class, and I think that was the one time
Yeah,
because I super bit off more than I could chew, pun intended. But like, it's no small task, and especially if you don't have like, if you're not set up for a bunch of deep frying, right? Then it's a real
yeah.
undertaking. Um, yeah. What about fish on New Year's?
I mean, I'd eat it. What kind of fish? How's it prepared?
So apparently, in Scandinavian countries, herring is considered a source of good luck, and the silver scales on the fish remind people of money or coins, and so either smoked or pickled. Also, sardines.
Pickled
Yeah,
herring? I eat it. Yeah, I've had that
yeah.
before. It's good. It's not bad.
I like it. I like it on a crostini. I don't. That's a little much on like New Year's Day morning, I think, but
Yeah.
maybe a nice gravlax or something, right? But yeah,
So then, are
I,
you the type who pops bottles of champagne for New Year's or no?
I don't. I'm always working.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
No, it's fine. I mean, I I don't really enjoy champagne. Okay, so I don't mean to like poo poo on anybody else's celebrations. It's just
Hmm.
champagne has a lot of sugar and it hits you hard,
That's
and
true.
it's strong. And so, I mean, they don't call it brute for no reason. It has it's very very dry and
Yeah.
it's very strong. And so, I like a toast every now and again. But usually, I'm going to go for prosecco or something else that's like light and sparkling, like Vino Verdejo or like a sparkling Riesling or something like that. Something
Yeah.
that's just a little bit lighter on top of a really heavy meal.
Yeah. Well, do you know why people pop bottles of champagne for New
I
Year's?
I don't.
It's just one of those things like back in like the 16th century and back in the past, many
Sure.
years ago. I mean, it was just champagne was just like a symbol of wealth. So now we
Yeah.
continue it and we just pretend that we're bougie when we're popping bottles of Moscatos,
Well,
sparkling Moscato, the
I
Astis.
am bougie. There's no pretending here. I am bougie. I'm bougie. I'm selectively bougie. Um,
Yeah, I can see that. Me too. Don't worry.
yeah. Well, I mean, it really makes sense, right? Because if you think back to every time they used to christen a new ship, they would like saber a bottle of champagne to kind of like, be like, it's on its maiden voyage. So I guess you're doing the same thing with a new year,
Have
right?
you done that? Have you ever savored a bottle of champagne?
I've screwed it up several times,
I've
not
never done that.
successfully.
I prefer to like not do it because with my luck, the bottle would just like blow up on me and then I'd spill it. I'd waste a bottle of champagne.
Look, there's a reason why I'm not a steward or a sommelier. If you would like me to expertly strain bits of cork or slivers of glass out of a bottle that I have just mangled, then be my guest. Otherwise, like
Yeah.
happy to cook your food. You know,
Yeah. Same. I
let's just.
agree.
I'll just be the first one to acknowledge my strengths and weaknesses. All right, so Lunar New Year, which I think deserves a mention. Usually dumplings are the big draw at Lunar New Year because their shape resembles money bags. So when you're talking about like shumai or gyoza, they have like the pinched together.
Yep.
When people used to keep their money in bags, it always makes me think of the Monopoly man.
What's your go-to filling for dumplings?
Pork.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm always a fan of pork. I always like seafood too. Like when you get like the shrimp and the scallops, all that stuff. I like all that stuff.
I mean, I can go like really far into very, very westernized pan Asian territory and be like crab rangoon is my favorite dumpling. I don't care. They're delicious. But yeah.
The other question goes, is it steamed or fried or both?
I like the combo where you steam them and then you pan fry to get one crispy edge like in gyozas.
Yeah. That makes me happy too.
I could eat my weight in that.
Yeah, agreed. I spend quite a bit when we go get dumplings just because they're so good, you know?
I could completely smash tons of dumplings. Ton of them.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I like every single culture's like different take on a dumpling. So I am really big on the potato filled ones too, like pierogies and things like that. Like, oh man. So
that makes, dude, I could eat quite a bit of those too. It's always lovely.
I like starch and I like carbs. So here we are.
They do sound good right about now. Okay, we're gonna have to pause this so that way we can go eat some carbs and fill up, and then we'll just drag the rest of the episode out. You know.
Yeah, you guys can. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you so much. You can watch us take a carb-induced midday nap.
Right. So, technical difficulties.
Yes. Exactly.
So speaking of carbs, like a lot of Germans ring in the New Year with like big soft pretzels. What's your take on that?
I will never turn down a pretzel ever.
Same. Yeah, it's supposed to be
but do you prefer like sweet or savory?
I would imagine more savory, but if you do a sweet pretzel, that would still be pretty dope too.
I mean, you know what I'm going for. I'm gonna want the sweet version with salt sprinkled on it. So
I would do that with like, I don't know why, but a soft, like not salty pretzel, but like kind of like sweet and savory with some peanut butter right now. It just sounds good. I don't know why.
Yes. Oh, if I'm ever like shopping at Trader Joe's, the peanut butter filled pretzel nuggets, those are my kryptonite.
Oh yeah, those are good.
Like,
I don't have to go to Trader Joe's. I can get them anywhere. And I'm still happy every time.
Oh no, I mean, plenty of places have them. It just happens to be the place where they always catch me like right before the checkout. But I have a feeling like, I don't really know if it's true or not, but I think that pretzel probably represents the same thing that a wedding ring does. It's like longevity because the ends are, it's like a Celtic knot, right? Like it's continuous. It's continuous lines. Kind of makes sense. What about rice? This is a staple of New Year's celebrations in Asia and in the South.
I mean, I can eat rice quite a bit too, So,
what's your favorite? Do you have a favorite type of rice, like jasmine? Arborio.
I love basmati rice. That's my favorite. Yeah. Just because it's so like naturally buttery,
I like basmati too. Now I really, really love like a short grained, high starch sticky rice if the time is right. If it's like Thai food or Vietnamese, like sticky or like rice pudding.
That sounds good.
Do you like the traditional like a Mexican rice pudding or
not really. I usually don't. I don't eat a lot of rice like I would want to, but whenever I do, I just keep it real simple, and then I just eat it with like a lot of beef or some sort of protein,
Yeah. Okay. So more savory types.
Yeah. All the rice puddings and stuff, I like them as good as they are, but I don't eat a lot of that for some reason.
I can't buy it. If I'm going to buy like the really boo-boo, like Cozy Shack kind, I cannot keep it in the house because I don't understand the concept of a serving size. And I really like that stuff. When I make it from scratch, I like to add fruit to it. If I'm going to do raisins, then I like to have apples. And if I'm going to do like mango, then I like to cook the rice in like coconut milk,
I can see that.
Yeah. Just something a little bit special. I don't really like the plain stuff. It needs to have texture. This is like when we talked about strudels last week, and then we've talked about desserts before, that it needs to have some sort of textural component. Yeah, otherwise it's just like gobs of creamy, sticky rice.
So when I was in restaurants, we would have I worked with this little Asian lady, and every night we would have leftover rice, and she would say, "Save it." So at the end of the week, she would make like this big batch of fried rice, and she would throw anything and everything in there, and it was always good every single time. Like she just put her magic and love in there, and it was
And her whole foot, as we would say.
You know what? It was the best. It was the best 5-foot rice.
No, that's not how.
Whatever she did. I mean, but keep in mind, this lady had been cooking like 50 plus years. So there's also that.
Of course. I mean, that's the magic when you are able to cook by feeling. So I like to call that cream of walk-in chowder. When you take all the leftovers, you make it leftover special,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, all that stuff, it makes me happy. Food just makes me happy. Rice in particular does. But it's one of those things I still don't eat a lot of,
Is there anything special that you cook for New Year's Eve?
Typically not. When I used to work in restaurants, I would spend my New Year's in the restaurants, and I would try to get out by like 11:30, so I could be somewhere by midnight. But I don't know. It's like I said, I carry on those traditions from when I was growing up with like the tamales, the menudo, stuff like that. If I want to be bougie, then yeah, I'll do like the black-eyed peas and lobster and all that stuff. But it just depends on what kind of mood I'm in.
And why lobster?
Again, people think of like you're bringing in the new year with some sort of wealth, prosperity, like because when people think of like, oh, we're gonna be real fancy and we're gonna be rich and all that, we're gonna eat lobster. So it just kind of you carry on that, I guess, stereotype. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean I think it's a tradition for sure. What's your favorite way to cook lobster?
Oh, I just butter poach it. What I'll do is when it's raw, I'll take all the meat out and then slice it into little medallions and then cook it with a little bit of butter. So it cooks like that. And it also tastes good too.
Yeah, I mean, so lobster is one of those things that's kind of like octopus. You got to cook it for 2 minutes or 2 hours and there's nothing in between, or it's a rubber band. Yeah.
Agreed.
But lobster, like more so, it just doesn't, it's not for any quick cooking method. Like it's really easy to take it way too far. But when you're cooking lobster, do you do the whole lobster or just the tail?
If I get a whole lobster, I'll definitely do a whole lobster. But a lot of the times I find just the tails there at the grocery store. So I usually just have to go with tails.
Yeah. I can't remember if we talked about this before or not, but there was a long time. I mean, it still kind of is now. I've had so much poorly cooked lobster that to me, it's just like a giant overcooked shrimp. And I think it's overrated. But I have in recent years past had it cooked correctly and with love, to where I'm like, okay, I'm starting to appreciate this again. But it's usually as a component in other things, like a lobster dumpling or like a lobster potato fritter or something like that, right?
That sounds good.
The conditions are controlled just right. It's not just a crappy lobster tail, like kind of like schlepped onto a steak.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I agree. Because typically they always overcook those, and you can throw all the butter you want with it, but it's still... Yeah.
There's no coming back from that. So, if you're cooking like large muscle, meat, like a leg of lamb or a pork loin or Boston butt or chuck roast, if you take it too far, you can kind of resuscitate it with liquid. That's not true of lobster. It just goes like, it just gets more and more and more and more tough. There's not a lot of recovery there.
Have you ever had like just completely overcooked lobster and it almost has like a clay texture to it, like in your mouth? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And then there's nothing worse than that, going to a restaurant. That's why I don't order at restaurants. Never. Maybe if it was like in a dip or something, yeah. But
it has to be a really a place that I trust quite a bit. For sure, that I've vetted really well. One of the things I love about the idea of food on New Year's Eve is that it's always like very, very luxurious, It was always represented kind of that way as I got into the business. So it always makes me think of like tenderloin and canapes and caviar and champagne and oysters on the half shell and things like that. But I think that my experience, at least in the people that I know, has been that you keep the food very, very simple on New Year's Eve so that it can be like A, easy, and B, kind of come and go.
Yeah.
And so lots of chips and dip and, frozen appetizers and things like that.
That's how I would do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a party. Like no one wants to sit down and, have a meal. They all want to like snack and go and fraternize and get drunk with everyone,
Yeah. I mean, 100%. So if you're listening, thank you so much for listening. And if you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. But please tell us about your New Year's Eve and New Year's Day food traditions. We want to hear it. You can hit us up at the Food for ThoughtCast on Instagram or Facebook, or go hit up Steve at chefstevengonzalez.com so we can talk food, because I know that there are a lot of people who listen from all different walks of life and in different locations. And I want to know what you're doing. Maybe we can get inspired to do something different next year. So this year I'll be working 100%. I'll eat probably 4 cold French fries and, several bottles of water and probably a pot of coffee. And that's not looking likely that there'll be any New Year's Eve foods in my future for 2023. So,
right.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Like we're already going into 2024, like 100 years ago, just like the traditions and like the way of life, everything was just completely different, Now everyone's ringing in the New Year like with their friends and their phones, whereas like 100 years ago, they were still having like steak tartare and, actually being in the moment,
Yeah. And I mean, I wonder if the food traditions, didn't kind of develop as like classes developed as well, right? So we talked about several episodes ago, right? Breakfast kind of came about as, you had the money to incorporate a third meal into your day, and then people were leaving their homes to work, right? Because everybody couldn't live on a farm, and industrialization and the development of suburbs and cities. And so I kind of wonder if the New Year's Eve celebrations didn't used to be like way subdued. They kind of ate whatever they had, and then New Year's Day was the day to kind of rein it all in and bring family together, for the sake of like prosperity and luck. I'm very intrigued by the way food traditions develop, for sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty intrigued, like on how, like when people started celebrating New Year's. Like when did, you know what I'm saying? Like was it back in the 1900 or 1800s at least, like where people were like, oh yeah, it's New Year's, but. You know what I'm saying? Like I wonder where
and I wonder if it wasn't like only royalty at first, So
could be. I don't know.
Could be because maybe to other people it was just the passing of time, another day.
Right.
So they just ate whatever they had available.
All of our historian listeners, let us know. You're intrigued. # please don't cancel us.
# I'm just here for the food, and also yes.
Right.
All right. So are you going to do menudo on New Year's Day this year?
I made some last night, so it'll probably last. Like I'll freeze off a little bit so that way, like it's not week old menudo, but yeah, we'll probably end up having it, But I don't know. So you said cold fries, water, coffee to fuel the soul.
It'll probably be a bowl of cereal that morning, and then a lot of times I don't make it to midnight on New Year's Eve. And, but yeah, I'm happy to do that because I want other people to have a good time and people's kids to be able to spend it with them and everything else. New Year's Day, I'm sure I'm going to find a way to have some black-eyed peas and cornbread. I don't really care much about the ham these days, but it does help flavor the black-eyed peas. I mean, I really feel like you can't have them be vegetarian. It's not a slight to vegetarians. I was vegetarian for a little while, but there's something about a chunk of salt pork that you can't replicate. So just saying.
We're going to have to figure that one out for you. Make a menu.
Yeah. Like what? What kind of menu?
A menu for the chef who is working. Whataburger.
A menu for single people on New Year's Day. Can of black-eyed peas. That's the saddest thing I've ever heard.
What?
It's a can of black eyed peas, a chunk of salt pork, and a box of Jiffy. Single person New Year's Day.
Like you would have to heat the can up and then open it after it's all, or like open it, heat it up, and then just eat it right out of the can.
Over a fire with one of those old-fashioned church key can openers, like in the Dennis the Menace cartoons. Yeah,
you can totally see that.
I'm doing it.
And then your dogs are going to be begging for food. So
pictures to follow. Yes, I was actually standing at the counter making a sandwich today, and it's very hard to do that with two 80-pound dogs standing right behind your knees.
It's even worse when you have like a small 15, 20-pound dog and he gets right behind your feet. So you kick him when you're moving around unintentionally. He just wants to be next to you. He just wants to be next to you. So you can't really fault him for that. So,
yeah. Mine don't want to eat the food. They just want to be involved. They just want to be wherever I am. You can't beat that kind of love. So
yeah.
Well, hey, all of our listeners and viewers out there, have a happy, incredible, healthy, joyous New Year from the Food for ThoughtCast. I'm Melissa Reagan, and
I am Steven Gonzalez.
And we hope you join us next time. Happy New Year. That's a wrap for today. Until the next episode of the Food for ThoughtCast, make good food, eat good food, share it, and be kind to one another.
Thanks so much for listening today. You are part of what makes us special, and we are so glad you joined us. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, and leave a review. Just like food, delicious podcasts are better when you share them with others. Come back for seconds wherever podcasts are served, and we'll catch you in the next episode of the Food for ThoughtCast.
You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at the Food for ThoughtCast or at www.foodforthoughtcast.com, where you can link to all podcast players, or you can send us an email at foodforthoughtcmc@gmail.com.